Hi everyone, this is Gail from Gail's Upstairs Studio. Today I thought I would share what's in this box with you. It is basically a lot of my watercolor journey, which has been going on for about a year. And this box is filled with all kinds of things I tried and trying new brushes and new paints and learning water control. Some of it is bad, but some of it is great to look back on because it's just good to know where I started. Helps me figure out how I've come to where I am now. And some of the things are better than I thought they were when I did them. So I thought I would just share it with you. This box I got at a yard sale years and years ago. It is basically a wooden briefcase. And when you open it up, there's a tray on each side, and it opens up and there's more room underneath, and we'll get there in a few minutes. Here is the first pile. This one I am one of my very early hydrangeas in learning how to flood color in the negative space in the background. I believe that's right side up. These were done with a little watercolor palette that I take to craft fairs with me, and I use a water brush, and this was done in my lap at a craft fair. I have painted roses in acrylic for years and years and years, but doing them in watercolor is a completely different animal, and this is some early attempts with that, and you can see I'm having some water control problems in there. Here are some nasturtiums. I would say this is arches. This was probably when I first got my first arches paper. And this is nasturtiums. Nasturtiums were my mom's favorite flower. She's no longer with us anymore, but I try to remember her when I do things like that. And these aren't nasturtiums, but they are similar, and you can see some of them I went back in with more pigment and less water to do the details in some of them, and I didn't do all of them. And the centers of these ones I think are done with a black pen. This is an early attempt at the peony. I've gotten much better at those, thank goodness, because that was a trip. And here are some little things that I tried. I got some Kentucky Gansai Tambi paints last summer, and this was just learning those and how they're different from the other ones that I already had. Some roses, a very bad fern. This is a piece of a whole watercolor page that I covered in flowers that I loved this one, and now I have all kinds of completed full watercolor sheets, and I cut them down and I make things out of them, and this was left over from something I made, as is this one. And here are some roses. The roses are great, but my color choices were not, and I was practicing on lifting up vein color in the middle. Another one where the color choices weren't my best, and here are some more practice 5-petal flowers. And that is another practice sheet on how I was trying to learn how to fill in a background after I got the painting finished. These are supposed to be lilacs. These have gotten a lot better since then. Some ranunculus. I actually really like this one. It was in a sketchbook. This was pretty early on too. I'm still experimenting with things, but I really liked this one. This was from one night when my husband and my 2 kids and a couple other people were downstairs playing cards, and my daughter-in-law and her sister came up and were visiting in my studio, and we just sat and chatted, and I did this while we were chatting. It's about 2 or 3 hours worth of just playing around. It was fun. Okay, so that's one stack. But remember, I said there was more to this box, and there is. There's another whole level in here. I think I am going to move this back out of the way. And here is some more practice. Some blueberries. An iris, which is another thing I've done a lot in acrylic, and it is very different in watercolor, but I actually find it's more fun to paint in watercolor. And here are some just lettering things that, once again, these were done at a craft fair too, I think, with Tombow brush pens and Fudenosuke pen. Some of these I posted on my Facebook page after I did them. If I didn't have anything to post for a while, I would post a little something like this. I like the colors of this one very much. It's a gentle reminder to myself one day, I think. It's one of my favorite sayings, may your coffee be strong and your Monday be short. And as I've said before, sunflowers are my favorite flower, so that's usually something I'll go back to. Not only is it my favorite flower, but it's one of my favorite flowers to draw and paint. Life begins after coffee. That's pretty much my mantra. And here are some more practice pages, more blueberries. A very early something. This was very early on too. Knew nothing about water control. I still struggle once in a while, but that was very early on. Another early, very early hydrangea. I kind of like that one. That was an attempt at a rose, but I kind of like that one. And you can see it was getting better as I went. This one, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but that's done with all shimmer, and that is because that was the first quote-unquote watercolor paint I ever bought. It was on a whim. It was on deep clearance at Michael's, and the whole palette was just shimmers, and this was just playing with that. And that was probably my first thing I ever did. Some more practice. Some more bad hydrangeas. This is a little further on. This one was last June. I remember the day because it was the day my father-in-law died, and I just wanted to paint something that had to do with him. And he was an avid blueberry picker. And so I thought I would do blueberries. And I should probably frame that. I kind of like it. It was just something to do to help process. I did another painting right before his funeral that I will share at some point. Probably not in this video, but it was just something to do to kind of remember him in that day. This is leaf practice, not very good leaf practice. This is a peony that hasn't bloomed all the way out yet. And I have done quite a few different peonies. It was not easy to master, but it was fun to get there. And I now don't even really have to think about it anymore. It just comes. Some sunflowers, some more peonies, some bad peonies, some more early hydrangeas, and this is, I think this was done with watercolor brushes, watercolor markers, I think, blending. Just practice. And this is the last pile. I can't remember when that is. Honestly, I don't remember doing it, but just practice. This was done obviously close to Christmas. I got my poinsettias down pretty good. I was happy with that. Here's more poinsettias that I never finished. I will get back to those at some point. This was an idea I got from either Instagram, I think Instagram, either Instagram or YouTube, and I tried it on my own. And I hadn't to that point done a lot of full page, but I do like the variation in the values of the leaves. That was kind of what I was trying to practice there. It's another full color sheet. I never finished it, but I can go back and finish it. This is when hydrangeas started to get better, but for some reason I did not do well on the leaves that day. The hydrangeas were starting to come together and be a little bit better by this point. Some more nasturtium practice. This is something I decided to try, and I do incorporate it some now in some of my watercolors. I actually also do calligraphy with a straight pen and nib that you dip in ink. And I kind of started playing around, I think this was early last summer, with adding that to my watercolor. And I really liked it, knew that I could get better at it, and I incorporate it quite a bit now. This is more of that. I don't know why, because there's water control problems, there's all kinds of little things in here, but this one makes me smile. I really like this one. And here's some more just old practice sheets. So that's about it for that pile. At some point, I also have sketchbooks. At some point, I will share some of those too. But for now, I hope you enjoyed that little tour, and I'll see you next time.